So yeah, before I get done for the night, I'm going to do this quick video on what's going on with Hurricane Helena in North Carolina. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's been coming out, and I'm sure you guys have heard, about the it was an intentional flooding, an intentional of letting the water that was dammed up loose to flood these people. This is not the first time this has happened. This has happened numerous times throughout this country. It's happened in many areas. One of the most recent, well, it's not the most recent, but one of the most recent ones that people have been talking about is the one in Georgia. And they're saying, like, people don't let their children swim there because people are being drugged down under and drowned by, lost souls, I guess, is what you would call it. But like I said, this is not the first time it's happened, and I'm sure it won't be the last. There's a big the largest lithium deposit within the country is in Asheville. And so BlackRock and Vanguard now own the majority. They have patents and they've taken ownership over the majority of this land. This is why they don't want people to be able to receive help. The less people that live through this, the less people that FEMA has to help, which is being paid by BlackRock and Vanguard, the less people that can claim ownership to their land rights, which has now been pretty much all taken by BlackRock and Vanguard. This is horrible, and this is what has been going on for a long time. Now, I think they're getting too brave because a few years ago during the pandemic was the first time BlackRock's gotten into actual residential real estate, and now they're doing things like this. This is going to cause an issue. This should cause an issue. This should cause everybody to stand up together against these people, against these groups. They're actually unaliving people, and when people are talking about they're already starting to bulldoze, and the stench from all of the human remains where the water has gone down a bit and they're starting to bulldoze, and that stench is just in the air everywhere. It's enveloping your nostrils. You cannot get away from it. And they're blocking people off from being able to help people. They've actually concrete barricaded around the entire area so nobody can get in to help people. They say it's because, they're the fire chiefs, they're the emergency responders, and they don't want civilians going to help people. But damn that, people have helicopters. The one couple that went and took their helicopter and they flew over this area, and they wanted to document it for views. Somebody needs to put both of them down for being pieces of shit, realistically. You have a helicopter, I get it. It's a little two-man helicopter. I get it. You don't have enough weight, but guess what? You could have brought supplies. You could have tied some fucking ropes to it and, lifted a few people out. You don't have to land. You can tie stuff to them, as long as you're not going over your weight value. One or two people is fine. Get some supplies, bring that, maybe a couple 100 pounds in supplies would help people, but the main thing is getting them out of there. It took days for anyone to help them. I'll stop bitching because it's pissing me off just having this on my screen, but let's check it out.
Hurricane Helene has pounded western North Carolina and East Tennessee in the Smoky Mountains. All roads are closed in western North Carolina. The only way to Asheville, North Carolina is by air. Here is I-40 completely inaccessible, going state to state. Every resident was told to get out of their home, go to higher ground. But these bridges, these roads, they're not intact. If you zoom in close here, you can see people on their roof climbing to the top. If you've seen my other videos, you have real-life footage of people in their homes as these floods came in. Waterville Dam, a Lake Lure Dam, had become faulty. Based on the terrain of the mountains, everything is floating downwards. Within a couple of hours, these residents got up to a foot of rain in a couple of hours. Even first responders couldn't even get to anybody, and their lives were at stake as well. Even roads as 74, I-26 that lead into I-40, inaccessible. Houses have been floating away. Long-term businesses there for decades and decades, gone. Even to get to a local Walmart, no one can get food or water. Many people are without cell phone service, way to call home, way to call for help, and honestly just nowhere to go. Even cows, horses, terrible videos of them being washed away in the water. Appalachian State students, their cars going underwater. This region needs your prayers. Though the rain has stopped, the flooding may still accumulate. Like I said, we have an Airbnb in the Smoky Mountains. If you're able to get there, we have some open dates coming up. Please reach out.
It wasn't a fucking faulty... what? A faulty dam? You know how many hurricanes they've survived? It wasn't faulty, you idiot.
I really don't think y'all understand how bad it is in the southeast right now. We have towns that don't exist anymore. Chimney Rock is gone. The city of Asheville is cut off from the world. This is not an exaggeration. All the bridges leading into the city have been washed away. They have no food, no power, no water, no internet, no cell service. They don't even have a radio. It's a complete dead zone. No one knows what's going on in there. I don't think I'm being dramatic when I say that this is a Hurricane Katrina level event. There was a woman in my town who called for an ambulance, and the ambulance got stranded, and they were stranded for like 24 hours, and to my knowledge the patient didn't make it. People are dying. They're still dying. I've been running the generator for the last 3 days, and we're starting to run out of gas, and this is on Highway 123 heading from Aisley to Greenville, and this was a 1 mile long line to get gas because they were the only people we knew around that had gas left. We got all the way to the end and they were out. They had no gas. We checked every gas station in Pickens and Aisley and Liberty, nothing. And I don't know what I'm going to do when I run out of gas, I tell you that much. Try to steal some from my car maybe to keep my food cold, but even then, I don't know. This is the I-40 bridge, from Tennessee to North Carolina. It's gone. It don't exist no more either. We got people dying out here. Man, we need help. We need help.
That's absolutely heart-wrenching, and I've been in that situation because we've had our power plant knocked out, and we were without power for a month back in 2011. So I've been in this situation. It's horrible, and mine wasn't anything like this. We just lost power, and some areas flooded, and some tornadoes. Well, we had a lot of tornadoes, like 60 of them. But still, mine was nothing like this. I couldn't get anything around here, but I was able to drive, an hour and a half to another city, and luckily, stay with family. and that city was completely fine. But people are putting this up online. Like, people need help. People are actually unaliving. That you can't wait that long for this kind of stuff. So just the fact that this was all done intentionally because of a lithium deposit, well, the largest lithium deposit in the country. And you might say, okay, why would they do this because of a lithium deposit? Well, the patents show it, that BlackRock mostly and Vanguard, like a quarter of it, own all of this land now. And they're also keeping donations. They're keeping food. They're keeping money. Everything that people are donating, FEMA's keeping it. They're not giving it to the people. So that's something that people need to understand. They don't get that unless you have a way to get something to this people by people that are actually trying to help. Don't give them to the government. The government's not doing anything for them. The government's working with them. That's what a lot of people don't get. So I've never been in this situation, and thank God that I haven't, and I feel for the people that have, but I'm going to show you what an actual flash flood looks like. The flash flood I'm going to show you is nothing like what happened to them. This is an entire dam being let loose. And like I said, US has many times flooded towns. Usually they'll give people the option to leave, or they'll pay them. Back in the day they did, but we're in a different time now. People just don't care. So I'm going to show you what an actual flash flood looks like. What is it? So that one was in Japan, and that was just a fraction of the size of what happened in North Carolina. I don't know. I guess he just doesn't have any survival instincts. I don't know why you would run towards the water. But anyways, like I said, I haven't been in that situation, but I'm smart enough to know run away from the water. Anyways, but just to show how fast this comes on, a lot of people don't understand the impact that water has. It only takes a couple of feet to move a vehicle, like a car, an SUV. It doesn't take that much water. And so people that haven't been in that situation might not understand the physics behind it. But yeah, this shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened. I'm disgusted by it. And yeah, it pisses me off, because I know that I wouldn't think that in this day and age, I don't know why I thought that. I thought that there were better precautions, that couldn't happen now, because you can read about times that this has happened in numerous states, and usually, like I said, they would ask people to leave, and then some people are just like, no, I've been here for 3 generations, I'm staying with my house, and they flooded anyways. And with that, it's usually just a few houses a few families that stay, and that's their prerogative if they want to. But with this was without any kind of notification. It was done intentionally. and it was all for money. Another thing, this was all for money. So you're talking, you might say, why lithium? So lithium is what they use in batteries. Largest lithium deposit. Well, also not just batteries. They use that in batteries. They use that in pharmaceuticals, and they use that to try to measure what's going on within the atmosphere. So lithium has a lot of uses. Those are just the ones I know off the top of my head. I'm sure there's more, but yeah, it's horrible, and it shouldn't have happened. The fact that this has happened is the same thing in Hawaii. And I already know. I'm just going to get fucking reamed by YouTube for even talking about this. I don't care. Same thing happened in Hawaii. Infrared lasers just tore Hawaii up. Just tore Maui apart. And all of a sudden, you've got people owning parts of Hawaii. You've got actual police that are supposed to serve and protect, and they're blocking off the one road off of the island. And I remember this one guy, he was in a 4x4, and it was him and his wife, and he was in a lifted truck 4x4, and he just said fuck this and just started going through people's yards. And luckily they made it, but what do you think happened to the rest of those people? They got cooked. They literally got cooked. That's called herd mentality, and it's very dangerous. You don't want to be sheep. You don't want to have herd mentality. You don't want to sit there and do what everybody else is doing. If you see people doing stuff, it's like, hey, I don't think that's a good idea. Don't fucking do it. Don't just go with the flow. The Army has studied this since the 60s. Just to see how people respond, how to control crowds. This is something that they studied psychologically. Yeah, I don't really have any more words about this. Let's get on to something else. Oh yeah, let's show these pieces of shit got in their fucking helicopter to document. Didn't help a soul, just documenting. Fuck these people.
Down in the Tennessee hills, ain't no smoggy smoke on Rocky Top, ain't no telephone bills. Strangers ain't come down from Rocky Top, reckon they never will.
Stories of survival are now being shared days after Helene wreaked havoc in North Carolina. But one Pageland man's efforts to help are now the source of controversy. He flew his own chopper on his own dime to help stranded victims, but that man says he abandoned his rescue missions after a fire official threatened to have him thrown in jail. Well, that man now wants answers and turned to Queen City News chief investigator Jody Barr to help figure out what went wrong here.
This is the original post that I was reading when I decided to go up and help. It's a long post, but she's saying that her kids and family and animals are trapped. No way out, no supplies, and the only way in or out is accessible by helicopter. Limited cell service and no water since Friday morning. I thought I have a helicopter and maybe I can help.
Jordan Sidham piled food and water into his helicopter Saturday and headed up toward Banner Elk, the only way through a mountain gap in Lake Lure.
This is the mountain valley that you would have to fly to get to Black Mountain, where we were escorting people out. This is a mountain range, and this is a mountain range. The only place to fly through with bad visibility, low cloud coverage, is Lake Lure.
The cries for help from people stranded without food, water, or electricity hit social media soon after the flooding last Friday.
So my parents are stuck there. Their address is Banner Elk. They are in the first condo. If you receive this, please give me a call back. Thank you.
Sidham's phone started lighting up on Saturday with people begging for help.
I could hear the desperation in her voice. This is multiple phone calls I've received like this, voicemails, text messages, and you could hear people desperate for help.
Sidham and his son rescued 4 people on Saturday and spent the night in a nearby pilot's lounge, then decided to fly again Sunday morning.
I spoke with my son, which is my co-pilot. I said, hey, do you want to go back out and try to help today? And his response was, there's so many messages, I don't think we can't not go help.
Sidham and his son were headed up to Black Mountain. Flight tracking shows no flight restrictions in place Saturday or Sunday morning when Sidham flew through the Lake Lure Gap. But that was all about to change. The Sidham spotted an older couple waving for help, then landed in what's left of their driveway.
Hey, I want you to let me get in. You step out and go out, help her in, put her bag in the back, get her strapped in. I'm going to take her down, come back. I'll take him, I'll come back, and then I'll get you, okay?
I originally left my son, co-pilot, on the side of the mountain. It was kind of unstable, so I didn't want to put more weight in the helicopter to lift back off.
Pay attention to that. This man left his own son, which is his co-pilot, left him on the side of the mountain while he's helping this woman and her husband, get to safety.
So I left my son with the other victim, and I was just going to take one person down at the time, and you could hear me in the video talking through with the victims and with my son what we were going to do.
3 minutes away, Sidham spotted a group of rescuers just down the river. He landed and found someone in charge.
Told him my background experience, law enforcement, firefighting, pilot. He immediately started helping with coordination. He gave me radio frequencies to coordinate with them on, set up a landing area for me to come back with the other victim. And in the middle of the whole conversation and then blocking the road off, I was greeted by the, at that time I didn't know, but Lake Lure fire chief or assistant chief maybe, and he shut down the whole operation. So at that point I felt like the conversation wasn't going any further. And again, he asked me to leave, and I said, hey, I have no problem getting out of your area. If that's what you want us to do, we'll leave, no issue. At that point, I asked him, what was the reason I had to leave them there, and he said, again, you're interfering with my operation. I just need you to get out of the area. I said, sir, I don't know where you were trained at, but I know how my training is, and I'm not going to leave personnel behind. I'm going back to get my co-pilot. He said, if you turn around and go back up the mountain, you're going to be arrested. I said, well, sir, I'm going back to get my co-pilot. I don't know what to tell you. And he said, I'm letting you know. And at that point, he waved for 2 law enforcement officers to come over and told me that again, if I go back up the mountain, I would be arrested.
He flew the 3-minute trip back, picked up his son, and left the woman's husband behind.
Sure, he was flooded with emotions and trying to rescue other people, and I just felt that it was best at the time to leave. So I did follow his instructions, and I had a conversation with the female victim before I left, apologized and explaining. She was standing there. She heard the whole conversation. And they were both very, very surprised, very upset. The husband, as I was leaving off of the side of the mountain, at that point, separated from his wife, he was upset. I can only imagine.
Sidham and his nearly 1,400 flight hours turned his chopper around and headed back to South Carolina, passing people waving for help along the way.
As I was actually leaving to go back to get my son, the original chief or captain that I spoke to, his crew and himself, they came back over and said, hey man, we can't tell you to go get the victim. We can't even ask you to go get the victim, but we can tell you if you come back with the victim, we'll have you a designated landing spot, and they won't. We'll make sure they don't come over here.
So there was no flight restriction when you went in?
No flight restriction when I went in. It went in place 20 or 30 minutes after the confrontation with Mr.
You feel like that was coincidental, or do you think that was because of what happened?
I don't think it can be coincidental when there has not been one in place the day before doing rescue operations, the night of, the morning of, that took place after our altercation. I think there would have never been a TFR put in place had we not had that conversation. If I had to do it over again, I would have stopped and I would have rescued as many people until they decided they were going to arrest me.
Well, for now, we've chosen not to name that Lake Lure fire official because communications in and out of that town are still difficult. We want to include his side in this story, and if and when he responds to our messages, we will include that. The good news is I saw a video of a Coast Guard helicopter landing in Lake Lure this morning.
I don't give a shit. His name is Dustin Waycaster, W-A-Y-C-A-S-T-E-R. And people are saying that he's been removed. This was 4 days ago, so this would have been on the 1st. So it was some time ago, according to, it's just been so much going on in that short span of time. But yeah, so these people, this man deserves a medal. He put his own son at risk to help other people, and that's what you should do. But this just goes to show you what I've been saying for decades. When the government ends up, when the government ends up coming together with these corporations and tearing the people apart, it's our jobs and our duty to stand together. And it never works out because people are so only into themselves. Even preppers, I know a lot of preppers, and they tell me, that they'll leave their own blood family, like not their children, but like their blood family. They'll tell them, hey, I told you to prepare. We need our food. You can't come here. What? What kind of shit is that? So that's what always happens. People can't stand together because there's always going to be somebody that's like, oh, well, if they're standing together, then I'm just going to do my own thing and not be bothered by them. And that's why they always win, because everything that they do is to make us seem like we're different, to make us seem like we're not all connected, which we are, to make us seem like there's an us versus them. And the only us versus them is us as regular people and them, which is the people that are trying to unalive us, stop the population from growing, and tear the planet apart. Just my personal opinion. That's my last video on this. I can't even do anymore. I'm gonna get too pissed off. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm out.